Hey everybody, this is Josh Peak with OKUSA Wrestling. I am the membership director. We have Zach Randall, the chairman, and a special guest tonight, David Mercatani. Appreciate you guys coming on.
Always an honor to be on with my Oklahoma brothers,
Yeah,
especially this. I end up going to Oklahoma a lot for different meets. I'm a pain in Randall's Tushy every June for junior duels, and we became pretty good friends because of junior duels, though, to be honest, and got a chance to make him a part of the event we're going to talk about last year. He won't admit it, but he had a really good time. And
It was fun.
so
Anything you do, Dave, is usually pretty fun, though. I gotta admit.
we celebrate either way when it's over. We're, so like border brawl, same kind of like, hey, the hay is in the barn. Everybody tried their best. Let's have some fellowship and that kind of stuff. So yeah, but this thing this year is going to be awesome. We're super excited about it.
cool. Well, this is so you guys know what we're talking about here. This is the National Wrestling Hall of Fame dual showcase. We also I put on the social media. We have they have a clinic going with Kevin Jackson the day before, so that's going to be good, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But let's start off with you guys just want to start off with where the teams that are involved and kind of how this got started, that kind of thing.
Is it okay to talk about how we got started? Is that a good place to start?
Yeah.
So last May, like a year and a half ago, Ethan Kyle reached out to me. Ethan's from St. Louis. I actually coached his older brother in college. My dad did as well. So known him growing up. He was killing people for a long time. And he said the Hall of Fame was interested in doing something like this. Would I be interested in being a part of it? Met with Leroy Smith and Ed Gallegos, the treasurer over there, came to an agreement. And literally we just started calling people like crazy. And Ethan's absolutely critical to making this happen. We had a very specific game plan, but you guys know this. I mean, like Zach, all teasing aside, junior duels is a massive undertaking. And you have so many teams that are there now. Like if a team from Alaska wants to come, they're not worried no one's going to be there. Like you have proof. And until you've done it, there's no proof it's going to happen. I think it made me go back to my first border brawl days. Like, I swear to God, we're going to hold a meet in Union Station in St. Louis. Be like, sure. So Ethan got the 4 Oklahoma teams that were nationally ranked, which was, and I'll start with your guys, Edmond North, Stillwater, Tuttle, and Bixby. And then I got 4 teams that I was friends with that were not. And once you have 8 teams, people like, okay, it's going to happen. Like if we had to, we could have ran it with 8 teams. We could have done 2 pools of 4 and crossed it over. So we ended up getting to 16. It's in Gallagher, Iowa. It's 4 pools of 4. And then day 1 is pool play, and day 2 is, gold, silver, bronze, copper. It's a semis, not day 2, not pools. And I think we ended up with 10 top 50 teams last year. We have, 14 top 50 teams this year. Willie Saylor said it's the greatest dual meet field of all time. I'm completely biased and want to agree with him, so I won't disagree with him. And then we've got Blair and Sunnyside already committed for 2024. So, nice. And we actually had the number 6 and number 7 teams in the country originally committed, and they bowed out, or all of our teams would have literally been in the top 50.
Yeah, I think it's cool is, and the only event that I can think is comparable is like the Elite 8, which is a great event, super awesome teams, yeah. But those are like all-star teams, where these are actually, school teams, which is kind of cool too. It kind of brings a little different flavor to that, which I like, So you have the Elite 8, which I'm glad we have those dual series for kids, but this is also another cool event kind of in between those, which is, school teams. And so that's kind of neat. It's hard to win as a school team.
Yeah. And the other thing that people need to understand on our meet is there are certain states that cannot come because of restrictions. So like we did the first podcast with Willie, and I had somebody call me and so you should have an Iowa team in there. I'm like, I agree. Go talk to the people that make the rules in Iowa, because I'm already friends with Jake Agnich, and we would love to have Southeast Polk, and they would love to come. Iowa can't come. Minnesota can't come. Indiana can't come. Wisconsin can't come. Ohio can only go non-contiguous once a year. And like when we made the calls, I told Ed Gallegos, I go, this is like you're asking me to call the 16 prettiest girls in school and ask them all to break their prom dates. Like these schools are all scheduled. they all had to get out of something. And so, our event, we're trying to be in the same conversation as Iron Man, Beast, Doc B. I don't want to leave anybody, but Powerade, but these kind of events, like when you go, hey, we want to be invited to that. Like we would drop something to go to Hall of Fame Dual Meet Classic. And there's a ton of people over at the Hall of Fame. Leroy, Ed, Clay Hudson, Jack Carnifex is an absolute. Clay and Jack are two of the hardest working guys that we all know. Those guys just grind. They just put their nose down. They just work their fannies off, and they don't care about the shine or the flowers. They just get it done. Like what Jack has done in the last week with Willie and putting up all the promos and the videos. And we have now a press release. Zach got it today via email of every single kid that's ranked on every single team for the announcers to have. That's nice. Unbelievable. I mean, and shout out to Willie Saylor. He's the one that put it together, but our announcers are going to do a better job now. Like we don't have 16 Zach Randalls that know their team like Zach knows Edmond North.
Yep.
I mean, Zach knows these kids' favorite colors and, like what their meals are. He could do like the Little League World Series for Edmond North, We don't have all those guys for every state. It's impossible. So this allows the fans to have a better experience. Stephanie Miller created an amazing program last year. It's super cool. You can do QR code or old school hard copy. It's awesome. My mom and dad are coming in. My mom came in last year. Pop's coming in this year. So yeah. Well, Zach, you and I are sons of legends. So, we know how that is, right? So, and Archie, I'm sure will be there this year, right?
Oh yeah. He'll be there yelling, I'm sure somewhere.
My favorite story of watching the Oklahoma State Championships is Archie's on the play-by-play when Jackson's in the finals. And this is when I was just starting to get to know everybody in Oklahoma. And he goes, I got to sign off. And he started screaming instructions as he was taking it off. It was awesome. Family in wrestling is awesome. So, yeah. So the teams we have this year are Wyoming Seminary, Edmond North, Poway, Wyoming Seminary, Pennsylvania, Edmond North, Oklahoma, Poway, California, Del Barton, New Jersey, Buchanan, California, Lake Highland Prep, Florida, Bixby, Oklahoma, St. Peter's Prep, New Jersey, Stillwater, Oklahoma, Clovis, California, Massillon Perry, Ohio, Pomona, Colorado, Joliet Catholic, Illinois, Tuttle, Oklahoma, Arlington Martin, Texas, and Blackwell, Oklahoma. That's 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 7 top 15s, 11 top 25s, 12 top 30s, 13 top 40s, 14 top 50s.
Pretty incredible.
It's a blessing. I talked to some coaches about it and they go, what's that phone call stuff like? I go, they pay me for the yeses. They don't care about the no's. You just keep calling until you get the right people, Every year as it gets better, I think it'll be easier to get teams. Like Zach, you were with that Edmond North team. I mean, I know they won, but they had a great experience, right? Like how they were treated, how the tournament was run, wrestling on the floor at Gallagher. I mean, the whole thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the leadership in this event, from top to bottom, when you're talking about Leroy Smith and you and guys that have done stuff their whole life in wrestling and are all about wrestling, when you guys all get together and put an event together like this, it's incredible. And, I think for the kids too, like I said, you got to think you're wrestling the same floor that Iowa wrestles, OSU on. I mean, it's in that feel and it feels like that down in that arena. And so such a cool event. I mean, it's a first class event. I mean, just to watch, to experience, if you have younger kids, taking them to see what high-level high school wrestling is like, man, it can really change their perspective of wrestling. And you're going to see some high-level wrestling.
We have kids that have won state titles, Fargo titles, U20 titles, U23 titles, world championship, age group world titles. We have a kid that just qualified for the Olympic trials. Shout out Luke Lillidow, my man from St. Louis, Missouri, baby. Let's go.
Wow.
So I mean, like Cornell Robinson, the coach at SEM, was coached by my father and I in college. So, I mean, there's all these connections and everything but you said it right, Zach. Like, I think a lot of people think high level, like Josh won state, Zach won state, David won state. That's high level. That's a level. It's better than not winning state. But, you got guys that win multiple state titles, world titles, Fargo titles, stops, like all stop signs is another level, right? Josh, you and I were talking off the air about your son and his prowess in Greco and becoming a 1%er, right? And then like you go to the senior nationals, you're like, there's levels to the game, man. Right. And listen, he's doing great. He's awesome. He's awesome, period. But especially for his age where he's at, right? But if he's like placing third in that tournament, you're like, bro, that guy could make the Olympic team.
Yep.
And that's the goal, right? If not 24, 28, 32. But we got kids that are going to come out of this thing. Our alumni list is going to be stupid.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be unbelievable. So I think it's like $15 a day. The other thing that's nice that Alex Steen, who is Zach Randall's homeboy, by the way.
I love that guy. He's awesome, man. He's so he's the best guy ever announced, and he is so good, man. You just chill with him, and it's awesome. I love
that's Zach Randall's dog. So he's the one that came up with the idea of doing the teams by session. So like Pool A and Pool B are in the morning, and then Pool C and D are in the afternoon. And then Leroy had the idea of the teams when they're not wrestling get private tours of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. Like if you come in, like I was talking to Mass Perry coach last week, and I'm like, Coach, call Leroy, get your tour scheduled. Call John, get your practice scheduled inside of the Oklahoma State Wrestling Room. Like, do all these things. Like, this is an experience. Not everyone's going to win the tournament, but you go through. We're sponsored by Cliff Keen. Last year they gave all these kids backpacks. Like the U.S. Army's there. Those guys were there setting up and tearing down mats. Me and Randall were like, Zach and I went to get coffee and Mountain Dew Zero, respectively.
Yeah, I was like, sweet. Hey, you got a good event when you got the Army behind it, man. That's a good thing to have the Army behind anything, right? Like,
I think that's one of the reasons I got hired was because, and you know this, Zach, because your son was in Border Brawl. Like, that's a military-based event. The proceeds go to veterans and the military sponsors and recruits those events. So, wrestlers do the best in any of the basic trainings of the branches. The only exception, and it's crazy, they're tied, are with swimmers and the Navy SEALs.
Amazing.
Yeah. We all know wrestlers are freaking hammers, right? So.
Well, and also, like we said before, too, we got the Kevin Jackson clinic the day before. So for all the
middle night, it's actually the end of the first day.
End of the first day. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. End of the first day. So the kids are there. I mean, that's another opportunity to. I mean, Olympic champ, 2-time world champ. There's a Q&A there as well. It's
mainly a Q&A. Like, we wanted to do it different than like somebody showing a single leg, a double leg, an outside step, a high crotch. Like, that's almost so prevalent now. It's like, Kevin, when you are recruiting, what are you looking for? Kevin, when you were wrestling in the Olympic finals, what's your mindset? Like, and you guys have all fathered kids, coach kids. You have to leave time for these kids to get pictures and shake hands and this other stuff, right? Like, like guys like me and my dad didn't think about that, but like, that's just as important. And it's only $20. So it's the Hall of Fame is not trying to gouge anybody. Like, just to meet, and Kevin Jackson is awesome. I was roommates with his brother in college. So I've known Kevin since I was 18 years old. You can't have a bad day if you're around Kevin Jackson.
No, he's a class. I mean, he's an amazing guy, amazing wrestler. He's a class act guy for sure, man. I love that guy. Yeah,
he's absolute high energy, great human being, as you said, and, doing great things up there in Michigan. We had Sergey Beloglazov in this summer. It's like, that's one of the premier RTCs in the world up there with KJ and Sergey and Chirella and Bolliard and, and Sean Bourmet leading that squad. So, they got some dudes up there for sure.
One thing I love about this event, Dave, you were talking about this. I wanted to jump in on this because you talk about all the different level guys, but here's one of my most exciting things about this event that I love. And I hope we can keep going in this direction too. You got a school like Blackwell in there, Blackwell, Oklahoma, some gritty, tough, state champion, small class Oklahoma guys. We got Texas schools in there. Great. You're going to get a chance to wrestle a world champion, and I love that because it's like, you're going to get your steel tested, and what a great opportunity for kids to get their steel tested and kind of experience that. You're going to wrestle a Fargo national champion, an All-American, a guy that's going to Cornell or going to wherever, like you're going to get this opportunity. And so I love having those schools in there that it's like, hey, you get this opportunity to see where you're at on this, and maybe you can make a name for yourself that way. But if you're a younger class or an underclassman, you also get to see like, look, this is the level of wrestling I got to raise my game to. You know, I want to go wrestle in college. This is what it takes to be a college wrestler. That about this event too is because every year we have some guy that busts in there, you know what I mean, and kind of does something. And you're like, wow, look at that guy. Where'd he come from? Well, he's from, you know, Texas or Blackwell, Oklahoma, or wherever. And I love that.
We had a kid from Pomona, Colorado last year beat Hunter Taylor, and Hunter Taylor is going to be a 4-time state champ in Missouri, Ironman runner-up this year, 2-time Fargo champ. So that's a shout out. That's a compliment to Hunter Taylor, like that we're even mentioning, you know, like that's a bar. That's a level. Talking about a level, right? Multiple stop sign guy. And we had like a sophomore beat him and just rode him the whole third period. And just, you know, I don't think Hunter was feeling great or whatever, but hey, you step on the line, you put the anklets on, and, you know, any given Sunday. Somebody said to me the other day, they go, how good is the meet? And I go, well, last year we had, I think 7 teams, 1 state that didn't win the tournament. So, you know, there's one team that went 1-4 and won their state tournament. So sometimes you judge something like by the people that didn't win. Like people go, how good was Border Brawl? I'm like, well, Cade Brock lost in it. Okay. So like that says, like you have Dayton Fix, like, okay, people know, but it's sometimes the people that don't win, right? Like how good was Senior Nationals? Well, Rhett Peak didn't win the tournament. Well, that tells you something, that there's dudes that aren't on the top of the podium. That's how good the weight was. So, I mean, that was like the weight with Ladarian this last weekend or 2 weekends ago at Ironman. Like, ooh. I mean,
That's a tough weight.
My middle zone was that weight. That was,
yeah.
We're cross bracketing to the number 2 guy in the country. That's not a great cross bracket on the backside,
Right. So. Yeah. I mean, when the guy who wins the Worlds takes third and has a tough match for third, you're like salty weight, right? And not all third places are created equal, right? So, I talked to Ethan on Monday. I said, I want to know the parlay if I had Landon Sumner winning, Barrick Jordan going within 2 points of DeLuca, and Ladarian not making the finals. I said, I want $20 on that 3-way parlay because that would have paid out big, So just craziness. This is what happens. So, I mean,
yeah, that high level like that, a simple mistake, in a match when you're watching that high level wrestlers. And I think that's the thing people got to realize, like, man, this level of wrestling is so high that, you make a mistake and that's the difference between first and third. And you wrestle that match 10 times, it's probably not going to come out the same, every time. And so that's the beautiful thing about this level of wrestling. It's crazy how talented these kids are and how good they all are. I mean, I can tell you this too, like, and of course I'm gonna be biased to Oklahoma guys, like, right. Yeah, like Lockett's a beast. Like, okay, that might've been like, if again, that might've been the worst thing to do to Lockett, he's going to come back now with a vengeance. I promise.
I think Lockett's going to be super, super salty these next 2 days. Like if you want to see a guy that might've been beating guys 10-2 and just is going to start lawn chairing people now, I think that's the thing. The other interesting thing,
he's not a sit back, take a loss kind of guy. He's coming back hardcore. I mean, this may be the thing that sets him up just to go on a run right now because he's just that kind of kid. He's a talented kid.
He had also just made his college decision, and that takes a lot out of you emotionally. And there's like this high, and then there's a deflate period. Now he'll reload. I mean, and Zach, I'm sure Josh, you were watching last year, but like these duels are crazy too. Because like in duels, I always tell people in duels, your worst guys matter. And in tournaments, your best guys matter. Because like Ladarian can go score 30 points at Ironman. He can only score 6 in the duel.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, one of the big things was Joe Jeter only getting decisioned by Cale Hughes.
Right.
Like those points didn't end up mattering, but emotionally, you saw Edmond North when that score was like 6-0. Even Hardell, who's got 1 foot in each camp, right? Like he's on the mic with me. He's like, that's kind of a win for Edmond North. And I'm like, yeah, you got the Hodge winner gets a decision against a freshman, and then, like Belford gets a pin when he's losing by 8.
Right.
You're going to see some people, moving their lineups around. one of the coolest things, I talked to the coach from Poway, John Myers, and he and I have known each other since we were in high school. We wrestled each other. And he goes, I tell my kids that aren't on the varsity this year to watch this and to suffer and to want to be in this meet so bad. He goes, Dave, we'll come back every year you invite us. This is like the coolest meet we go to. And those guys go everywhere. So huge compliment, right? But the team part of it's different too, right? Like Zach, I mean, you're an Edmond North guy. Like they're all on a bench. It's North or nothing. You know, it's Belford's dad. It's McCollum's dad. It's Gooden's dad, making sure nobody gets sued. You know, like it's all these people, you know, Ricky Thomas's dad is going crazy. You know, they all got signs and everything. It's not the same in a tournament, you know, because people are all over the place.
You know, Zach always talks about that, though, when we're getting our junior duels together and things like that, how important a duel, you know, the camaraderie and the team part of it is so huge. I remember Zach talks about that when we're talking about the duels, just the importance of duels and the excitement it brings. You know, the junior duels have been great for us, obviously for Oklahoma, but it's an important thing, you know, and we'll definitely be there. I told Zach, you know, Rhett's in town, so we're definitely going to be cheering our Oklahoma guys on, and it's going to be a good time.
You send Rhett down to my mat. I'm going to get him on. We'll talk a little Greco during injury time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Like I got Ackland. I'm going to get Cannon on. Like that's a cool thing. Like we can do some cool stuff like that, you know? So yeah, like, you know, like we had Jackson in Border Brawl. I remember last year, Jude was filming us at junior duels. Like, wrestling's family, man. And, you know, so like you can't take yourself too seriously. Like at the end of the day, you're just talking about wrestling. Like you're not splitting atoms, and maybe you're giving people a better view of it. And, you know, we've all coached and hopefully a little more educational view, but at the end of the day, wrestling's just to make you a better person.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, some team this week is going to go 0-5. That's probably the craziest thing, right? You know, like I just can't wait. Like I was talking to a buddy of mine today and I go, I literally spend at least 2 hours a week on this 52 weeks of the year. Like you can ask my mom, I was calling teams on the drive home last year to get them to come. Cause I'm like, you saw it, you got to get in now. You got to get in now, you know, like, and I'll be doing the same thing. You know, I'm actually going to, I mean, I already got my list of who we're calling, you know, like, so, you know, we're talking to some banger teams.
How many teams total again? Tell us. I mean, again,
16.
16. Yep.
And it has to be 16. It's not like Iron Man where if you had a team, like you can't have a pigtail in this thing because it's dual meets, you know?
Right.
So that's the other thing that makes it like Willie was like, hey, well, your event ran on time and Iron Man ran late. I'm like, don't put me in that. Like stuff happens. Like, you know, we might have an injury or a clock malfunction this year and it's nobody's fault. We run late. And we were blessed though last year, Zach, like everything was smooth as hell, you know, like the hospitality room was perfect. There was no crazy calls. You know, nobody got lost a match because they didn't step on the line. And the final match comes down to 2 Oklahoma teams down to the heavyweight match. Like, if you're a tournament director, it's a dream come true. And like, my mom knows more about wrestling than most people. She's also a communications teacher, but she's also a great understated genius. And we get in the car the next day. She goes, that went pretty well for you, huh? I go, yeah, you think? Like, it came, you know, number 2 against number 3 in the country at the time. Comes down to the last match. You know, both sides are going bonkers. And the other thing this year is we won't have a snowstorm. So hopefully more people can come out in person, right? Like that's one of the reasons we're doing this podcast, so people can get their tickets and come in person. I think last year was a good year for the streaming services, but, you know, this year I think hopefully more people come out. I looked at the weather. It's supposed to be like 40s and 50s and maybe some rain, right? In Stilley.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hoping it's going to be awesome.
It's been some mild weather in Oklahoma. It's been nice for sure. I'm sure it'll be nice coming weekend. So tell them where they can get the tickets for this, David.
You just go to the Hall of Fame website and there's a link there, and there's a student rate too, and the group rate for students and teams. So if you're a coach, and if you have to, call the Hall of Fame. Leroy will make a deal for you. They want kids to come. Like the whole idea behind this meet was to grow the impact and footprint of the Hall of Fame. And we're doing a podcast live Wednesday with Leroy from the Hall of Fame library, myself and Willie Saylor. And I got to say this on the air. I know the Smith family very well. Like, we've known them. My family knows their family. I don't really know Leroy. And Zach, you know me, I think, better than Josh does, but like, I'm not good at being micromanaged. Like I'll work really hard for you. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. And if I have questions, I'll ask. Leroy's like the best boss ever. Like, we talk, he says, here's what I need you to do. I ask any of the gray area questions up front, and then I just report back to him. And he's awesome. And if something doesn't go well, he finds something else to help me. And I try not to ask for help. But I mean, like, that guy's a legend, you know.
Yeah. Leroy he's golden, man. Really, you know, with the family, it's pretty awesome because, you know, when you start in the boys' side, and not even in the Smith women, but the boys, you start, you know, with Leroy, and you go down, you know, to John and Pat and Mark, and that family is incredible. We're so blessed to have the Smiths as an Oklahoma family. I love those guys, but Leroy he's top notch in the Hall of Fame. Like, what better cause can you try to support than that? That's our sport. And so, yeah, go support this because it supports the Hall of Fame, and that's valuable to us is you know, as a nation, is a sport. So I love those guys. Love Leroy.
We did have a comment that popped up here, as you can see at the very bottom.
Oh gosh.
That's your boy, Zach. That's your guy. That's your guy. You guys are all collectively.
Oh man, I love him, but I also no signs. God, I love that guy. Come on.
So I do think, on behalf of the Hall of Fame, we want to thank the U.S. Army. We want to thank Cliff Keen. We want to thank OKUSA Wrestling for every part that these guys have done, whether it's financial support, whether it's publicity, and then I know Resolite too. Like, Resolite made brand new mats. Those mats were so slick, Zach. We were looking at them last year.
Awesome.
And what they did was they wrestled on it for 2 days, rolled them up, put them on a roller up in Stillwater High School. No one touches them for 51 weeks and 4 days, you know, and then they bring them back down. So It's awesome. And like, I was talking to Ethan Kyle today. I have to give Ethan a big shout out. Like, when I coached college, it was way easier to go on the road because you just put your kids on the bus and you just manage them, and nobody's bugging you for tickets or hotel. You just go, right? It's like you're road warriors. When you're at home, I mean, Ethan has been an absolute workhorse and has done so much unsung work besides literally helping us get it off the ground. And Steen's also been the guy whenever he's my sanity check guy, whenever like some coach just stops returning calls, or like we had a team this year that just took us off their schedule. And I called him, I go, I'm just going to scream and curse for a while, but we're still friends, you know, like, and he goes, what happened? I told him, he goes, all right, let it rip, you know, and then 30 seconds later it's out. And he was cool. He goes, David, they weren't going to win the tournament, so who cares? He goes, just go find a replacement. He goes, all the teams that are still going to win the tournament are still in the tournament. And it's like, that's such a great perspective. And, you know, when you have friends like that, you know, because this matters to me, and you guys know that, like, it's just like doing a good job for you, Zach, on the commentary at Junior Duels, like Border Brawl being as successful and raising as much money. All that stuff matters to me. Like, it matters that it's good. It matters that people think it's good. It matters that the kids had a great experience. So, you know, that's when you have people that keep you in balance, because when stuff matters, you get emotional. And when you get emotional, you don't always make the best decision or have the best reaction. And so I'm blessed. All the commentators we have, it's going to be, well, and I showed Zach, everybody's going to rotate with everybody day one. And then day two, they go with their guys. But it's Hardell Moore, Zach Randall, Alex Steen, Matt Serber, Justin Ackland, John Valdivias, Jason Keck, myself, Marcus Hain. And we're also going to do a preview in between each round with some combination of Hardell, Marcus, myself, and Willie, where it's like, here's what happened and here's what's happening next. We did that at Junior Duels, and I think it went pretty well. Because it's hard. If you're not like a hardcore fan, you don't know what you're like. I just want to watch Rhett Peak wrestle Jackson Randall. Like, okay, well, that's on mat 2, the third match, because we're starting it this way. You know, like, helping people out find that stuff, you know, and that again is helping to grow wrestling because people want to watch what they want to watch. The cool thing about duels too are you're not like clicking around like going from one mat to the other. You're like, okay, Edmund North's going to be on mat 1, so I can just settle in. If there's injury time, I'll click over. Otherwise, I'm sticking here, you know.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. Well, we've been on for about 30 minutes, a little bit longer. And so I appreciate you guys definitely coming on. And, you know, this is a big event for Oklahoma. It's a big event for the National Hall of Fame. And so we're excited for it. You know, I mean, like you said, the top teams are coming in the country. This is the 2nd year. It's just going to get better, obviously. The Kevin Jackson Clinic. You can go to the National Hall of Fame website. Is there anything else you guys want to add to that?
I just want to say real quick, thanks to David. You know, I want to point out that if you don't know already, this is Dave is a guy that goes around and does events, but he does events for charities and support, which, you know, Josh and I, you know, we're about this too. Like, I think when guys have their heart into the sport and they're trying to help the sport and help people and help causes like David does, I think that definitely sometimes gets overlooked in these processes. So big shout out to him for donating his time for all the stuff he does for wrestling. It's beautiful that we have people like him in this sport. It kind of helps keep our sport alive. So thank you so much for doing this for all the kids in Oklahoma and everybody. We really appreciate you.
I appreciate it. It's probably Oklahoma and Kansas City, Tulsa and Oklahoma City and Kansas City are the 3 places where I could probably move and be okay. You know, I got a lot of friends in those different spots that are blessings. And this was a vision. I wanted to do this, but like I had talked to a high school, and I won't say who, and I gave them some very minor tasks and they didn't do it. And I'm like, okay, it's not going to happen. Because you guys know how it is. Like, Zach, you know, you have people with junior duels. They're like, hey, David, can you at least do this little thing and get back to me in a week? If I don't get back to you in a week and you need me to do 9 other things, it ain't going to work, you know? And so Willie said, well, how hard was it to get the teams? And I'll just say this. If you're calling for the Zach, Josh, and David Invitational, that's a lot harder to get teams than for the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dual Meet Classic. Like, you have some juice when you say that. And so the Leroys, the Eds, the Clays, the Carnifixes, those guys, the Ethans of the world, they gave us juice. Now, you're right, Zach, the Rolodex is pretty deep. There are a lot of these coaches we knew, and I think they know we've run enough things that it would be run well. But they know the Hall of Fame's not going to put together some slapstick event. Like, it's not going to, I don't know, we'll start when we start. You know, like, it's not going to happen, right? Yeah. Like, we're going to have cool mats. We're going to have scoreboards. We're going to have great production. You know, we're going to have the best teams we can get. We're going to keep banging until we have the best teams ever. I told those guys when they hire me, you give me 3 years and I'll put together the greatest field anybody's ever seen. And next year, if it hasn't happened this year, it will happen next year. It's important to me that it's great, not just good, great. But like when somebody like Jude Randall wrestles in this, and he's going to accomplish a lot of things in his life, that being on a team that won the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dual Meet Classic, especially year 1, is something he's going to carry into his business life and things like that. He's going to have that picture framed, you know. And I got to tell you, Pete, those Edmund North guys were really nice to me last year at the dinner.
Cool.
I asked them if I could get in a picture with them, and they let me hold the belt. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Those are some good guys. Those are some good guys down at Edmund North. I mean,
Andy Schneider and them guys are the best. Yeah. Wow, no, but it was, the kids were genuinely not, they were cool, you know?
Yeah. All the kids. Yeah. I think most, I love wrestling kids, but yeah, it's a cool thing just with all the kids there too. You got to get to this thing if you're listening. You just got to come see it. It's awesome.
It's a perfect description, Zach. You know, like it's hard. The energy is just different, man. So if parents are in town, there's a social Wednesday night at 7 in Mexico Joe's. There's a social for the parents and coaches Thursday night at the Hall of Fame I don't know which room in the Hall of Fame. There'll be signs, but that's the thing. Like, and it's cool. Like, it's rare that I see Zach or you, Josh, where one of us you're not coaching Rhett, or Zach's not running a 28 mat tournament, or I'm not making sure that all the military branches are all happy at Bora. And that night it's shut down, man. Like, let's just talk and be friends and have an experience. And so I strongly encourage people to do that and to tour the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is I would say it's a reverent place is the word I would use. It's cool. So, and you guys are the best, man, for what you guys do for Oklahoma wrestling. And, I already got stuff worked out with Zach for June, and I think I'll be down there in March for Big 12s. Hopefully they'll get us right and get me and Hardell back on the air where we belong. We have free Hardell, free the Panda, get us back on the air. So, but this Hall of Fame duels is something it's a blessing, man. Like it's,
we really appreciate you coming on and doing this and helping promote it. Obviously, I mean, you're a great promoter at doing what you do, and you have your podcast as well. And so, you do a great job you do a great job, and I appreciate you helping, organizing this and making it something big. I like that. I think everybody on this call is driven on by growing wrestling. We see the growth in women's wrestling.
Yeah.
It's blowing up. I mean, if you look at our numbers at OKUSA, we were in the top 6 in the country last year. We're over 21% growth on that. Zach's done a great job leading our group at OKUSA, and very creative. I mean, he thinks of it as a business mind. We come and that's really helped us out.
You have to.
And yeah. And so
you got to CEO that stuff. Yeah. By the way, Missouri Girls Junior Duels Champs 2023, baby.
Yeah.
That Missouri team. Oh, they're tough, man.
There's some good girls up there.
Ooh, they're salty.
Real tough girls.
My buddy who's in charge of Missouri, my 2 buddies, Amon Prater and Scotty Cutbirth, and then they were against Michigan, and Mario Flores is the absolute man. So it was. I walked down to both of them. I said, "All right, we're all going to go. We're all going to meet up afterwards, and doesn't matter who wins or lose. I got first round." And so it was cool. It's a great. And aren't there 3 high school girls teams ranked nationally now? Bixby, Union, and Edmond North.
Yeah. Yeah, we really have been pushing women's wrestling in Oklahoma. It's getting there. We're really trying to.
I'm watching all those rankings as we're putting them in border brawl matches. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. So cool. Pete, I'm gonna hold you this. Get Rhett. Bring him. Okay.
Yeah, we'll definitely be down there. It'll probably be Rhett and I, and probably our daughter Blair. So we'll come and got a lot of friends that'll be wrestling this, and then you guys, and so I look forward to seeing both of you guys there.
See you guys soon.
Yeah. Randall, you got the voice. You got the tea and the honey. You ready to go?
Yeah, definitely. I'm ready. I'm the weak link, but it's cool. I love.
No, you're not the weak link, bro.
It's fun, man. It's fun.
You picking Edmond North to win it?
Man, I'm a quiet guy. I don't want to jinx us. I can tell you, I hope we do. I believe we can, but I'm gonna just kind of,
Zach, Lou Holtz, Randall, baby. We're just here to help the team, and the good Lord willing, it'll all work out.
There you go, man. There you go.
Edmond North is very strong in a dual meet format. They are very strong. They don't have anybody in their team. You go, they're going to lose.
Do you think? You guys
love each other too? That's the thing. Just last or Saturday night. I mean, the whole team's over at the house watching fights. I mean, these guys are buddies too, and that makes a huge difference. I mean, when these guys, some of them, they're wrestling together since they're 5 years old, and so they love each other. So I hope they do. They're gonna fight. They love each other. That's kind of what helps them in a duel is they're fighting for each other too. So
all right, I got to tell you something. Andy Schneider said, and Josh was asked. So Andy Schneider told me a month year ago, a month before the meet, they were winning the tournament. I go, I think you guys are going to be like the 5 seed. He goes, Coach, like when things are cool, when it's not serious, Andy's like Dave or David. When it's serious, he's like Coach. So it's like, okay. And Josh, I interrupted you. You were going to ask.
No. That was going in right at what I was saying. I mean, you has really helped putting this on. Do you think Edmond North's one of the favorites?
Yes. Now, having said that, I would not have picked them to beat Lake Highland Prep, Poway, and Stillwater back to back last year. But I mean, this, Josh, right? Like if I have 5 national champions and 5 forfeits and you have 10 guys, you're going to beat us in a duel.
Yeah.
All you can do is have one guy not get pinned, right? And you win. And Edmond North doesn't have just 14 guys.
Yep.
They got probably 14 state medalists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, I mean, I would set the over under on their state medalists at 12.5, and I'll bet it goes over. Okay. So you don't look at their lineup and you go, well, we're going to win at weights 1, 6, 9, and 12, and we got to steal 3 more, and then we're good. Now, SEM, for example, they got dudes, something crazy going to happen for them to lose, right? But they also just have some normal guys. So it's going to be fascinating. I don't know if they'll hit. I mean, you know, they're not in the same pool, so it'd be a day 2 meet, it'd be a semi or a final. But, and, you know, I can do what Randall did. I can hide. I'm like, I'm the tournament director. I just want everybody to be healthy. And the thing is, I'm just friends with like I'm friends with Brian Stoll now. I'm friends with John Myers. I'm friends with Andy Schneider now. Cornell and I, we talk once a month about life and wrestling. Like Ethan Kyle, Anthony Verdi from St. Peter's Prep has been unbelievable. Stoll sent us St. Peter's Prep. I mean, think of the unselfishness level of that, because it's a recruiting advantage to not have another New Jersey team coming. He goes, David, you got to call them. They're really good. I've already sold it for you. I mean, talk about making my life easy. Yeah. And then like Ed goes, why do we want this New Jersey team? And I showed him all the data. He goes, send me back 2 words. Well done. You know, yeah. Right. Well, I mean, it's a fair question, right? If you don't have all the data and then you look it up, you're like, oh yeah, you know, so it's going to be awesome. You know, you guys probably know everybody there, but there's anybody you don't, bring them around, make sure you meet everybody. And, definitely Thursday night, come over to the Hall of Fame. I think that social thing's going to be really cool. And there's several college coaches that have pinged me and said they're coming in as well. So, you know, I'm not sure how happy Oklahoma State is about that, but like Tion was there doing his work last year. Lee Pritz was there from Arizona State. I'm pretty sure Mizzou's sending somebody. And Kevin Dresser told me he's coming in. So
awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it's
an easy place to recruit, right? I mean, you're going to have all the studs there.
All in one room. Yeah. We're excited. I mean, you guys are right. I like to sell, but this is genuine enthusiasm. Like, you work on something for so long, and now it just, you're like, let's let it rip. You know, we're just making sure everybody's got their hotels and stuff right now and working out their practice rooms. And, you know, we had guys sit people out of tournaments this last weekend to get ready for our tournament. That's when I know we're turning the corner in year 2.
Yeah, that's a big thing, actually. Yeah, that means something.
Like Edmund North said, we're not going to go to Stampede so we can be ready for Hall of Fame duels. You know, Stillwater, same thing. So, like, you know, I mean, it's cool. Duels are cool. Everything we've talked about. So, and Randall and I don't know what round we got, but we got a round together. So,
no, that's going to be awesome.
So I said, everybody is with everybody day 1, and then you're with just Steen day 2.
I want to say this too, man. I want to say this too before we end it. If you know, I know there's a lot of things happening in Oklahoma, but there's a lot of schools are on break, and so we have a huge audience with OKUSA. And if you're a high school coach,
yes,
get your kids to this if they're not wrestling at any other term. This is going to be, you'll learn. I mean, you always learn something watching high level kids, right, wrestle. And so I think if I'm a high school coach, we're not going anywhere, then I'm bringing them. I'm bringing everybody to this.
Call the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Get a group rate on tickets. Get a group rate on the KJ clinic. Get around greatness. Just get around greatness. I tell people when my first podcast, when I first doing it, you guys know this. You don't know if anybody's watching or listening, right? Like, you know, you have no idea. And within the first 6 months, Gary Abbott and Scott Casper reached out to me, and those guys are giants in the sport. It's like if Jordan Burroughs calls you and says, hey, you got a pretty good double leg. You're like, I'm going to keep shooting double legs, you know, like I know it ain't on your level, bro, but I'm going to keep shooting mine, you know? And when those guys are like, you're doing a good job, it's like, I told them both, I go, my day's done. Whatever happens the rest of the day, I'm good, you know? Mm-hmm. And so you're absolutely right, Josh. It's a chance to be around. When you get around greatness, your goals feel more achievable.
Yep.
And we all got goals, you know, like what you're doing with your son. You're getting him to all the spots, all the training spots, all the competition spots. So it's not terrifying. First couple times, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
First couple times, you're coaching your son's mind, not his body.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you know, like that's Alan Vera over there, or like somebody
Right.
like, yeah, you're like, oh my God, or like that's Kamal Bey, and he's like, hey, then you walk up, hey, well, Kamal, what's up? What's good, bro? And like it changes. Now
I'm not going chest to chest with Kamal, just FYI. I'm
We had
coming in with a
Kamal
2-on-1
Bey.
maybe, but I ain't coming in over and under on Kamal, man. I was telling you right now.
We had Kamal Bey and Kendrick Sanders do a Greco, like a clinic, like a dunk contest where they would each throw each other and they would vote. This was at the Beat the Street Chicago duels, which is really the precursor for all this. This is where we first started doing this kind of stuff. So shout out Beat the Street Chicago, Mike Powell. There's another group that's using wrestling to literally change people's lives in horrific circumstances. I could talk to those guys about those guys for an hour, but like they were doing all these throws, and it looked for a second like Kendrick rolled his ankle, and Kamal runs up to me. He goes, "You're next, coach." I'm like, "That's a crime." That's a crime. That's assault.
That's assault. That's assault. You grab him chest to chest, that's assault.
That's assault. That's assault. So, all right, well, get Red out there, Josh. I want to get him on. Seriously.
I will do it.
Yeah,
well, guys, that's all I've got. And again, David, I appreciate you coming on. Zach, I always appreciate you coming on as well. Guys. And so we'll be sharing this to our email list as well. We pushed out about the National Hall of Fame and the Kevin Jackson Clinic, and we'll probably do one more, make sure everybody's going to be there. And so, but again, I appreciate you guys coming on this evening, and we'll be seeing you guys there this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, 3 days. Let's go.
See you guys.